It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Welcome to Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, joined by my best friend, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
You know what we do. We know what we talk about. We're talking about movies, new releases, film media updates, all the movie news updates. Corey, how have you been? What are we drinking today?
We just cruised through some Spotted Cows when we were setting up today.
For like the hour and a half of us setting up.
Yeah, it was good. We have some Miller Lights.
There's no garbage can over here, so it's just...
Put it anywhere. It's a fucking bat.
it's upside down on the floor.
Let's go! Master pad, baby. That's level 3's problem. Got some Miller Lights and a Batman popcorn tin, because fuck yeah. I got something special. I can do a little unboxing here.
I saw something underneath the desk before I sat down. I was kind of
audio
scared.
listeners, this really won't have the same impact, so this is just a thing for the visual people on YouTube.
Visual people.
Yeah. I went to McDonald's I went to McDonald's last night, and they have this McDonaldland meal that you can get. I'm always on top of new fast food meals, so this is like a celebration of McDonald's history, right? They got a cool box. Grimace is on there, Mayor McCheese, along with Hamburglers, some others. And then you get a quarter pounder with cheese, fries, and then a McDonaldland shake. I took a picture of it. Maybe I'll put it in here when I'm in the edit. It's like blue with pink whipped cream. It's crazy looking. I don't know what the flavor is. Some sort of berry. It's wild. But then they give you this little like thing for one of the characters, and I got Birdie. I didn't know Birdie was one of them. For audio people, it's like this tin. It's actually like embossed really nice on there. I would have preferred Grimace or something, or Hamburglar, but anyways, you get some stuff in here. Some good little trinkets. You get, thanks for traveling to McDonaldland with QR code. Great. You get some stickers. Birdie is my bestie sticker. That's great. You get a driver's license. Oh, a pilot's license for Birdie. Bird. Makes sense. Got breakfast with Birdie. That's pretty cool. And then a McDonaldland passport for Birdie. Favorite color is pink. And she's a Libra. So there's that. And then you get a couple of postcards. For Wake Up at the Birdie House and this McDonaldland full thing. And it was great too. The box with the quarter pounder had some cool artwork on there, and it said, well, I don't know if I believe this, but it said that Mayor McCheese made my quarter pounder. I don't know that I buy that, because like a Mexican kid handed it to me. I'm like, you're not Mayor McCheese. But anyways, it's like $14.49 or something. So if you are curious about McDonaldland and want a little piece of McDonald's memorabilia, feel free to go to McDonald's and get that. I just found out about it yesterday, so there's my cold open for the week.
Are you proud of yourself?
I don't know. I didn't expect that to happen, and then I got the meal and I was like, wow, this is a lot of shit in here.
You know, like the born again virgin thing where people like do Pilates and pray and boom, they're a virgin again. I think buying that meal and doing what you just did just for both of us made us born again version.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the most unprecedented bullshit I've seen from you. But thank you for that. I think you mentioned we're drinking Miller Lite. We've kind of, these past couple of weeks, gotten away from the drinking Minnesota brews. I spent the entire weekend up at my in-laws, their last name being Miller, so in recognition of my amazing in-laws, we're drinking Miller Lite. That's the best thing about, aside from me and my wife having a really good relationship, flexing on you for that, but mostly just like...
Flexing on me specifically?
You, whoever's having a bad... If you
What?
I was going to say, if you're in an abusive relationship,
whoa.
that sucks.
Wow. Yeah, sorry, whoever's listening if that's happening.
No, it's mostly just like her last name Miller, my last name Schmidt. I'm like, we got two awesome beer names. Also two very generic fucking last names, but it's fine. But Miller Lite, love it. We'll maybe get back on the Minnesota beer train or whatever that really bad tangerine marshmallow one was.
Oh yeah, we
Maybe
had for Captain America, Brave New World.
We didn't have video back then. We weren't doing YouTube yet. But when we poured that into a glass, it looked fucking criminal. It was just green sludge, and it was separating as we were drinking it. Something had to be wrong with that. Regardless, we're spending too much time on the opening here. Let's get into what we've seen lately, which, again, I didn't see a whole lot of movies this week. I did finally get back to the theaters and get to see a new release. But, Corey, what did you see this past week?
So, I went to the theater a few times this week. One of the new releases I saw was Eden. which is directed by Opie from The Andy Griffith Show, Ron Howard.
Nice.
We both love The Andy Griffith Show. It's
Oh, yeah.
incredible. I watched that with my grandparents growing up.
Don Knotts.
Oh,
Forever.
incredible. And finding out when I was younger that Ron Howard was like a good director was crazy to me. I was like, that's Opie. That's wild. But I saw Eden. We talked about it last week a little bit in the preview that there are a lot of attractive women in this movie. Sydney
Just an
Sweeney.
attractive cast.
Sydney Sweeney, Vanessa Kirby, Ana de Armas. They're the draw for this movie for sure. And it was me and probably like 6 other single guys sitting in there just spaced out in the theater. And I think we all just had an understanding of like, yeah, we know why we're here.
This is why we bought the tickets.
Yeah, but...
6 reasons why I bought the tickets.
Yeah. But I was actually somewhat like surprised with this movie. It's not incredible, but it's better than I was anticipating. I wasn't really like, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of excitement for it, but essentially it takes place during World War I, and this group of people move out to this island in the Galapagos, and Jude Law and Vanessa Kirby are married. They're the first people to go out there. This is all based on a true story, by the way, which I didn't know. But they're the first to move out there, and they kind of want to start this new human civilization, Lord of the Flies-esque in a way. And then you got other people, Sydney Sweeney and Daniel Bruhl are married. They go out to the island and with their kid. And then Ana de Armas comes out there, and she wants to build a hotel and wants to do all of this other shit out there. And it was a pretty interesting like examination of just humans, and during that time period too, like in a world war. And Jude Law's writing this manifesto of like how he wants to change the world and what he would do differently, and just seeing how they kind of all start out with good intentions but then go back to animalistic behaviors when they're on the island, when it's just like 6 to 8 people out there. So I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's a pretty slow burn movie. It's not like a big action movie at all. It doesn't even have a lot of big things that happen until like the last 20-30 minutes of the movie, and it is a little over 2 hours, so I could see a lot of people being very bored by this movie. That wouldn't surprise me. And from the box office, I think it made like $1 million this weekend, so nobody really saw this. But I think it is well directed by Ron Howard. The cast is all very good in the movie too. I mean, I just like seeing their interactions, their dynamics, like their different strategies for living on this island, where they live, like where they choose to set up, and just I like seeing people like build up from the ground up, and just like they're in this field and they're like, all right, how are we gonna make our house here, and like where are we gonna find a well for water, all that kind of shit. So I actually enjoyed this one. I think it's somewhat an underrated movie from this past week or even this year. Like towards the end of the year, I could see myself coming back to it and being like, that's pretty good. And just interesting too to like read up on the history of this afterwards and see a lot of the dark shit that happens in the last like 20 minutes of the movie, that a lot of that actually did happen, and different people's accounts of them like, well, this is how it actually went, and then somebody wrote a book saying, no, this is actually how it went. So I had a good time with it. Again, it's pretty slow. If that premise sounds interesting to you, I think it's worth checking it out. I don't know how long it's going to be in theaters, but definitely a good director, a good cast, interesting story. So I would recommend it if it sounds like something you may enjoy.
How did so I didn't see this, but how did they end up? Did they choose to be on this island, or did they? It wasn't like a crash landing and then them trying to reestablish like their civilization and live necessarily. It was more
No,
like,
so
like,
Jude
touring.
Law and Vanessa Kirby were the first to go out there. Like they came out by boat, and they kind of like gained some popularity from doing that. Like he'd written stuff and like sent letters back, and they posted it in papers. So people like started to hear about like, oh, this guy's trying to start this new thing on this island.
It's commune.
And then other people were like, oh, we should go out there and do that. And like I said, Ana de Armas is trying to like capitalize on that with the business and stuff. So pretty good. Not like, I don't know, not too much to like dig into with it really, but pretty solid movie that I was like kind of not like dreading to see, but just like, it's a little bit longer. It's like, I don't know, it's not super exciting, I guess, but not too bad.
All right, well, I'll likely check it out. I do like a lot of Ron Howard's other directorial efforts. I love Rush and Beautiful Mind. Backdraft is super underrated, and Apollo 13 obviously is great. And the cast is, aside from obviously very attractive actresses, you also have Jude Law, Daniel Bruhl, and all those actresses, Sydney Sweeney, Vanessa Kirby, and Ana de Armas, have proven themselves to be somewhat formidable performers as well. So I'll probably check it out. I hope, from the sounds of it, I'll probably have to check it out sooner rather than later if I want to catch it in theaters, and I think I'd like to see it in theaters. This past week, so August is a big month for my family, my wife's family. We had my sister-in-law's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday, and my wife's birthday back to back to back from August 21st to August 23rd. It's all their birthdays. So it's like a second Christmas in the summer for me. But this is what we've been holding out. Me and my wife, Allie, have been holding out for watching Freakier Friday, because it's a movie that her and I were both relatively excited to go see. But I got to see it this week because we took my mother-in-law there for her birthday, because she was excited for this movie as well. The film is directed by Nisha Gantra, director of Late Night and The High Note, two films I've never really heard much about or any. I have no inclination as to what the fuck those movies are. But Freakier Friday, you got Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan coming back. That is the main draw. You've seen it in the trailers, and it's another body switching scenario, except now you have Lindsay Lohan's character who has a daughter, and she's maybe going to have a new stepdaughter. So there's a lot of kind of give and take between the performances, and the movie's a little bit longer than the original just because we have a new dynamic of it's not just two people switching, it's four people switching. And it's 22 years after that initial Freaky Friday when Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan experienced their switch. And now it happens again. And I think the best part of these two movies, or one of the better parts for me, is that they don't try and over-explain how these things necessarily happen or the magic behind the switchery. The best part of these movies is when they're just like, hey, they switch, here's all the fun that we get to have with this premise. I will say this movie, while I was excited for it, the first 20 minutes of this movie made me feel like I was about to watch one of the worst movies of this year. It's very rocky. Not a lot of the jokes, at least in the beginning half of the movie, really landed for me. It's pretty sped up. It feels like it covers a lot of ground to get us to that switch, which thankfully is like when the movie really takes form and you can feel the movie settle into itself, because it's like, all right, now we get to have fun with this premise. I will say, even though the movie wasn't necessarily one of my highly anticipated films of the year, something I was excited to go see, it kind of surprised me a lot. Jamie Lee Curtis is an actress I've always loved. There are a couple of actresses in my life that my mom always loved watching. So like Sandra Bullock, Jamie Lee Curtis, I grew up watching their movies. And now I see a lot of my mom in Jamie Lee Curtis and in Sandra Bullock, especially as like they're reaching their years. And it's just, Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie is one of the standouts. For me, there are some surprising emotional beats that really hit for me, and kind of like anytime I see Jamie Lee Curtis well up with tears, I'm like, oh shit, damn, like, oh, now it's hitting me. But one of the other standouts, which isn't a surprise to me, it's just something I forgot about, but Julia Butters, who is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is phenomenal in that movie as the young little girl that's going toe-to-toe with Rick Dalton. And she's phenomenal in this. She plays Lindsay Lohan's blood daughter, and she is sensational. She carries a lot of this movie as she is Lindsay Lohan's character, just in her body. There's some fun dynamics brought on by the switchery. There's some good humor that was surprising, a lot of good callbacks without being too nostalgia baity, just like good moments that I was like, hell yeah, this feels like it's delivering in a way that is satisfying but not pandering to me. The performances were good. I went into the movie having middle to like decent expectations, and I think it like completely satisfied those for me. And the entire group of people we went with, which was my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, my sister-in-law's husband, whatever that fucking makes him to me. I don't understand
Chris.
family trees.
Fucking love Chris.
Love
good
Christopher.
Fucking dude.
My mother-in-law and father-in-law. My father-in-law is a very shoot-'em-up action movie guy. He will watch like Steven Seagal. Not that he watches Steven Seagal movies, but like if Steven Seagal movies were coming out today, that's the type of movie he will like frequent on streaming. He had a good time, and he was chuckling a couple times throughout this movie, which is a massive surprise because I was like, he's gonna hate his life for the next 2 hours. I will say that the movie's a little overlong. That first 20 minutes is a slog, and it's really poorly paced, and the dialogue's a little wonky. Once it settles in, it's kind of a comfort hug. It's a good movie. It's a fun time at the theaters, and it was a good family time too. I'd recommend it. I know you haven't seen the Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, the original one from 2004 or 2003 when it came out. I'd recommend that alone. But also, I think that this is a very suitable, well done sequel to that original film.
I'm definitely going to do a little double feature. I think I'm going to wait for it on Disney Plus, which I hate saying that, like waiting for streaming, but there's just a lot, like summer's kind of busy, so yeah. I think this is one I'll do a little double feature in the next few months whenever it drops on there and watch both movies. So I'm excited to hear it and happy to hear that it's good, which I've heard from people that it's like pretty enjoyable. So I'm excited for that one. The other new release that I saw from this week is from Ethan Coen, one half of the Coen brothers, and it's Honey Don't, which I don't know if it's based on the Beatles song, which I really like that. But they also have that song playing the end credits with like Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza singing it. So I'm assuming that was some inspiration at least. Ethan Coen's last movie that he did solo was Driveway Dolls, which came out, I think it was early last year. Which I was like kind of mixed on. Like, it's fine. I thought the premise was fun, performances were good, and I like just kind of lost me a little bit in the back half. And that's sort of what happens here with Honey Don't. Margaret Qualley plays a small town private investigator who is going into all these different deaths that are happening. Maybe they're connected to this church where Chris Evans is the pastor. And a lot of, different players come into it. Aubrey Plaza works at the police station, and her family, Margaret Qualley's family, gets involved as well. And it's a fun setup. I like a private investigator detective movie. It's sort of like a neo-noir kind of film. And it's definitely fun, and I like the setting. It's in like this small town in California, so you kind of get this deserty look a little bit and these older buildings, which is cool. But I think we're like, same with Driveway Dolls, like this movie has good performances. Everyone's fun in the movie. Charlie Day has a really fun supporting role. He's always just trying to bag Margaret Qualley in this movie, even though she's a lesbian. And anytime he sees her, her character's name is Honey O'Donoghue. Okay. He's just like sitting in the police station. She like needs to go to him for help sometimes. And every time she walks in, Honey O'Donoghue, what brings you into the station? She's like, I like girls. And he's like, you always say that. It's like, why don't we go get a drink after this? And she's like, no, we're not doing that.
Charlie Day is so underutilized in Hollywood, and I love him so much in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And wherever he pops, Horrible Bosses, he's great. Pacific Rim, weirdly enough, I think we talked about last week when we were mentioning that this movie was coming out this week. But yeah, he's such a just perfect character actor, and he's so fucking funny to me.
Yeah, he was great in this movie. Chris Evans is also very good as this kind of like skeezy pastor who's promoting this bigger thing, but he has like pictures of himself all around the church as he's giving his sermon, and then he's got a back room where he does some skeezy shit back there with the followers and going into fellowship and whatnot.
From what I've heard, from what Corey told me, a lot of fucking in this movie.
There's a lot of sex in this movie. There's a lot of nudity in everything I watched. Eden, there's a little bit too.
You had a good week. Peacemaker too. We'll talk about that.
We'll get into that. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. This movie was enjoyable. It's like an hour and a half, so pretty quick watch, which I appreciated. And like I said, I enjoy the detective angle of it. Performances are good. But I think, at least with this and Driveway Dolls, with Ethan Coen's writing, he wrote it with Trisha Cook. And sometimes I notice that they're trying to write quirky dialogue. So then I'm just noticing that writing instead of just appreciating the lines and feeling like it's from the characters. It feels like they're trying to do like a quippy back and forth thing instead of feeling natural within it. So anytime that happens, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It just doesn't really work for me. Also, both movies have so much lesbian sex in them throughout, which is just
Driveway Dolls and Honey.
Yeah, and Honey Don't. Where like normally I'd be like, okay, whatever, I don't give a fuck. But it comes at the expense of like momentum within the story, where like we're kind of building up and like we're getting some clues, like, oh, okay, this person's involved, and then we'll just have like a 10-minute sex scene, and then we'll kind of go back and we won't really get back to the investigation for another 20 minutes. So it feels like very weird. And there's just a lot of other sex in the movie. Like I said, Chris Evans is just going bananas in that back room. He's having a ball of a time as his pastor. So I don't know. It's just a very clunky movie that has a lot of like just weird scenes in between the more interesting stuff, and a lot of dialogue that feels a little clunky as well. And the finale of this movie isn't that compelling to me. It doesn't even truly really make sense. Like, I was reading up on it afterwards. I just saw it this morning, and I'm like, did I miss something? Or like, it's just whoever's revealed as the person. I won't spoil it, but I still don't like buy that this person would do it, and I don't really fully understand why they did it.
Aubrey Plaza.
And I don't really understand why they did
Aubrey
it.
Plaza.
And
not to spoil it, that's just my guess. I've only seen the trailer, and I'm like, okay, so it's probably one of the main cast. And you can confirm it, deny it, whatever you want, but I'm just going to run with that. It's probably Aubrey Plaza. That's the person that's perpetrating all these acts.
Either way, doesn't really...
It just doesn't... It feels forced already.
It doesn't really make sense. I don't really understand why it was happening. It's fine. I feel pretty much the same about this as I did Drive Away Dolls. I think I like this one maybe a tad more. Margaret Qualley is still great. I love seeing her just being this rising star in Hollywood after, seeing her first in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, bring that back up. She was a standout in that movie. She was great in The Substance last year. So, love everybody in the movie. The concept is fun. It's just a little clunky along the way. And just some weird pacing issues and just odd scenes kind of intercut throughout the movie.
I'm sorry. I'm reading.
You're reading deep on your laptop.
I'm reading the spoilers.
Oh, that's
of the movie.
Good.
Because I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna see this. I don't know why the Coen brothers have decided to split these and start making their own works. Not that they're probably they can't be capable of making a good movie on their own. Tragedy of Macbeth, was that Joel Coen did that one by himself, and now Ethan has done this and Drive Away Dolls, and it's just. I feel like all I've heard overall with these three films is that they're just they're fine, they're all right. Whereas when you have them together, you get amazing stuff like True Grit or even Burn After Reading that people. It's a slept-on Coen Brothers movie. And,
good.
A lot of the Coen Brothers stuff is really awesome. I love Blood Simple, but it just I remember the trailers of this, and I was like, this feels like it's trying so hard to be something worth seeing or trying to be good. And I feel like that kind of plays into what you were saying about the dialogue. Feeling like you can feel the desire for it to be witty without it actually feeling natural to the script, and it just feels more of you can see the effort as opposed to it just working naturally, which is kind of a frustration that I have. I don't know. Margaret Qualley also in the trailers, her voice kind of irked me. I was just like, it sounds like your performance is a bit hammy, a bit much. Whether that works or whether it's different in the film, whether it's something you don't even notice, I don't know. Haven't seen it. I might see this. I just, the biggest driving factor for me seeing this movie is that my wife really loves Margaret Qualley, and she really wanted to see this movie because she was like, oh, the trailers look pretty fun. Is it good? And I'm like, I haven't heard great things, but also if you want to go see it, I'm happily going to take my wife to a movie. But I'm not necessarily surprised by a lot of the stuff that you've shared with it, of it just kind of being fine. It's a shrug of a movie. And I feel like I could guess what happens in this movie.
Yeah, after reading the spoilers, you could guess.
No, I read the spoilers. I was like, this is confirming a lot of the weird shit I just assumed. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty solid. So, go see Honey Don't. Maybe it's not Aubrey Plaza. Who knows? Maybe she didn't do it. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It was a fine hour and a half watch this morning just to see something in the theater, which is great.
That's another good thing, is that it's a pretty tight runtime, so at least you're not sitting there sulking in it. And is it at least well paced?
I mean, it kind of back to just a lot of those scenes that break it up, where it's just
kills momentum.
It had a good flow going, and then it kind of halts and just kind of gets weird for a bit, and then kind of gets back to the story. So it was fine. The other movie that I caught up on this week that I intended to see last week, but I went back to bed and didn't see in the morning, was Nobody 2. Rewatched the first one last week. Love that movie. So much fun. And Nobody 2 it got all the returning cast, Bob Odenkirk and Connie Nielsen, bringing their family on vacation this time around. And we get Christopher Lloyd also going on vacation, because why not? You know what? Bring him along. Bring Doc Brown along. And we have some new cast members in there. We got John Ortiz, Sharon Stone, Colin Hanks, and essentially the family's on vacation in this small little touristy town, and the cops are kind of involved with some drug cartels. Sharon Stone's part of this bigger cartel that is kind of using the cops for money laundering, all kinds of stuff there. And, that sets up a fun little atmosphere. That's one of the things I liked about this movie, is the setting in this town, and you get a fun amusement park, you get this kind of water slide stuff, and just a fun summery kind of vibe, which makes sense why it's coming out in the summer. And the action in the movie, still a lot of fun. It's not quite as memorable as the first movie. There's no scene that I'm like, oh, that's really fun. There's a couple from that first movie where I'm like, yeah, that's a great action scene I remember. This one, there's a few cool things at the theme park at the end. They kind of do the Home Alone traps again, the end of the first movie. Yeah. So there's some, a water slide sequence is pretty fun, and then there's just stuff going throughout there where I'm like, it's bright and there's lights and everything. It's whatever. I think where this movie struggles a bit for me is it feels constrained a little bit by, the framing of that first movie, where we kind of have the interview at the beginning with in the first movie he has the cat and all these different items, and he's talking to investigators, And then he's like, who am I? I'm nobody. And then it goes back and shows you what happened. And it starts out the same way in this movie. And then there's just other stuff throughout that is like, okay, this is a similar pattern of what we did in the first movie, where I think this one could have just been different and didn't have to follow that same framing device. So it felt a little bit constrained by that. Sharon Stone in this movie, I don't think was very good. She feels like she's in a different movie. She's having a lot of fun, which is great to see, because I haven't seen Sharon Stone in a movie in a while. I mean, I love Casino and a lot of her other work, but I just feel like I haven't seen her in something in a minute. And she is very over the top, very hammy. She's the villain in the movie. She's going for it. It's fine, but I don't know. It just didn't really work for me. It felt out of place. Last thing I wanted to mention is that it feels like this movie lost a little bit of the edge of that first movie, where the first one is pretty fun, but it also does have some like dark, gritty moments within it that I enjoy. And this one leans a little bit more into comedy, or like kind of goofy within the action. Like some of the scenes, even in like an arcade, kind of get a little goofy with like, the props and other weapons that he's using to kill people. So I think in every sense, this movie does take a step down from that first one. And not that it's bad, like this is still a fun action movie. This is a movie I think your father-in-law Dan would probably enjoy as an action movie of just being like, you know what, again, like an hour and a half it is, and
it's a brisk fun.
Yeah, it's
shoot 'em up
fine.
kind of thing.
Like it's okay. It's not as good as the first one, which I didn't expect it to be. But I think it does just have a few of those issues that kind of brought it down that next rung for me. But Bob Odenkirk is still great in this movie, and it's fun to just see Saul Goodman kicking ass in an action film. And the fact that he's doing a lot of the stunts too is great, as just kind of an older guy, and he's like, no, I want to commit to it and do it. Makes a big difference for sure. So it's fine. I'm glad I saw it, just to kind of complete my nobody watch in theaters, but not one that I could like recommend to be like, you need to see this in theaters.
Of the 3 films that you saw in theaters this week, is there one that you would recommend the most of the 3, or how would you rank the 3 from this week for you?
Eden is definitely the best one of these 3 for me personally. I just kind of got the most out of that one. I think that's the one that kind of went a little bit deeper for me at least, and just had a lot of fun dynamics between the characters. Honeydone and Nobody 2 are very like different movies. They're like kind of on the same level. They'd be maybe like a B-, C+, somewhere in that range. Yeah, Eden I'd maybe give a B to B+, something like that. So a lot of like solid movies this week if you're looking for something new. Definitely none of these are bad movies. If you want to, go out and see with somebody, they're all pretty fine movies.
Okay. Like I said, Freakier Friday was the only film I checked out in theaters this week, and then this upcoming week, hopefully a couple I'll be able to check off the list. I'm hoping just based on what we have coming up, but also there's a film that I'm really stoked for, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I'm just hoping that it has a wide enough theatrical release to where it reaches theaters near us. But with it being almost fall, and now we're getting in Minnesota at least some more cooler weather, I mentioned that me and my wife have already kind of started doing some more spooky movie watch-throughs and stuff like that. We'll likely start Wednesday, season 2 here in the next week or so. But a big issue I have with the horror genre, which is my favorite genre, is that I can't remember the last horror film that like truly scared me. Or not that I can't remember it. I can remember it. It's just been so long since a movie has really scared me. So this week I sat down for a rewatch of the last movie I can definitively think of that gave me chills and freaked me the fuck out. And that is The Empty Man from 2020, which is a relatively underseen horror film. It's kind of hard to stream or find, or at least it was when it initially came out. I have a makeshift Blu-ray copy of the movie that I was able to find. You can't really buy it anywhere on physical media that I've been able to find either. So I just found a dude on Etsy, and I'm like, oh, you sell the cover art. Okay, well, I'm going to buy the cover art from you. I'm going to buy a Blu-ray print of this movie from some random dude on Etsy too. So I have a makeshift copy of this movie. Watched it. This film is so dedicated to spending time on the atmosphere and the tension, and it's willing to give time to build to something that terrifies you. And it's just because I don't think many people have seen this movie, and this is a wild recommendation that I would immediately say, hey, this coming October, this September, when you're starting to watch scary movies, this one, if you haven't seen it, or if you have, you should add it to your list. It's a film starring James Badge-Dale, who is a very underrated, underutilized actor. He's popped up in a lot of stuff. I should have looked it up before I started talking about it, but it's a Standoff at something Creek. I can't type.
Taco Bell Creek?
No, it definitely was not Standoff at Sparrow Creek, I think. Yes. And he's the lead in that. He's the lead in this film. And he plays an ex-cop who is on the trail of a missing girl. And he's coming across this group that's trying to summon some sort of supernatural entity. And they keep you in the dark a lot. But this film, it's a long horror movie. And they take their time with establishing the lore of this group and letting this detective piece it together. I'm not going to overshare a lot, but I feel like if anything, people have been exposed to a scene in the movie that is one of the scenes that you and I both have referenced as being just a chilling thing to witness. He gets kind of a tip or a lead on something, as a solution to what's going on, a little bit more of an understanding as to what this group is about, and he's sneaking into this house, and it's pitch black, it's at night, and you can just see across this water this group doing this kind of large gathering, large kind of ritual thing. And it shows them, and they're all doing their ritual. They're not paying any attention. Cuts to James Badge-Dale doing his thing. Cuts back. They're all dead still, looking in his direction. And that editing alone, shivers, goosebumps up my spine. I am freaked the fuck out. This movie, again, it's a slow burn. It's a long movie. It's over 2 hours. It takes so much time, at least in the setup of its premise, to really just hook you and freak you out, which I really appreciated. And it also doesn't try to over-explain things. With that, I'm not going to try and over-explain this movie because there's still aspects of this movie I'm like, I think I get what this means. And I really enjoy the ambiguity of this movie as well. But when I say it's been a while since a horror movie has really scared me, it has. It's been 5 years, almost 6 now, since The Empty Man came out. A movie that I feel like is wildly underseen. Check it out. It is a thrilling horror film, and it has a lot of cool, heady, cosmic horror within it, too, that I wasn't expecting, at least the first time I watched it. And I'm really happy on a rewatch that it completely lived up to the amazing experience I had on the first watch around. I would definitely recommend The Empty Man. Corey, I know you've seen this movie. What are your thoughts?
I love this movie as well. Definitely some scenes in this movie that just freak me the fuck out. And I wish this would get a physical media release. I'd want to watch this all the time. And yeah, that third act really does get more weird than I thought it would. It feels like it's kind of going down a standard route for a while, and then it flips at a certain point, and you're like, oh, fuck, this is really interesting and cool. So, yeah, big recommendation for me as well. Moving into some TV stuff this week, probably the biggest thing for both of us this week was the Season 2 premiere of Peacemaker, and I decided to rewatch the first season, which we have on Blu-ray here. I would also recommend watching shows on Blu-ray and physical media. A lot of people buy movies, but shows look so good on physical media as well. It's tough when, on a streaming service, you have so much shit on there that everything has to be compressed, and I feel like shows kind of get forgotten a little bit in that. So that's my pitch for that. But that first season, just rewatching it this week, I love it so much. It had been since 2022 when it premiered that I'd seen it, and that's an example of James Gunn balancing tones so well that works for me more in Peacemaker than necessarily in Superman or Guardians 2. I just think he really has that with Peacemaker and Creature Commandos earlier this year too. Yeah. So yeah, the first season's so much fun. A few little issues I have with it. Judo Master in the show feels irrelevant to anything.
Kind of unnecessary.
He just keeps escaping, and they beat him up and then keep tying him down, and then he escapes, which is kind of funny, but he doesn't really do much. And then the whole plot of that first season is the butterflies, and then they're trying to kill the cow at the end. And then the Robert Patrick stuff with the White Dragon and his kind of group in jail, they kind of feel just another stepping stone in the show, where they resolve that in the 7th episode, and then they kind of discard it and go on to the butterfly stuff. So it feels a little bit that feels like that could have been its own season of the White Dragon and his whole dad and everything. I think it's still necessary here for like Peacemaker's character and the backstory with his brother and everything. But I do love that first season. One random scene that I just want to shout out from the first season that's always bothered me in both watches is, I think it's in the middle of the season, and Peacemaker and Vigilante are in his camper, in Peacemaker's camper, and the cops are surrounding it, and they go out the roof of the camper or the trailer, whatever it is.
I know exactly.
And it's like this window that they go at, the skylight, and they're like standing up on the roof of that, and the cops are all outside.
It's a camper. It's not like the tallest thing in the world.
You can see it. You can see them.
What would be on top of a camper?
But like none of the cops outside see them at all. And then they're like going in, and they don't notice that like fucking light is just shining down. Like they can hear that there's noise coming up. It's just a very like goofy little thing that doesn't matter at all. But just in both watches, I remember being like, that's dumb. How would they not see
I
that?
remember that part too when I was watching. I'm happy that you did a rewatch of it, but I remember watching through it and just being like, this is the one time I've had to act like this show has had to really ask for forgiveness in terms of just like, oh, this has to happen for the plot. But I'm like, the cop, like, it's one story camper. Like, a cop can see at any, and they're just standing up in broad fucking daylight. Like, it's not at nighttime. And I'm like, they should all be able to see your ass. And like this whole, the way you guys escape from this is because you're hiding from them. I'm like, you should so easily be in sight of all the cops that are swarming this little camper that you live in. I was like, that's such bullshit. Which it is kind of a nitpicky thing. Just carry on with the show, like the story and everything, and it still works, but it's just like, really, like, how are you dropping the ball on this? Like, this doesn't add up for me.
Yeah, it's weird, but just a little thing. I do love that first season, the 11th Street Kids, the gang of people I love so much.
Johnny Economos, that character is like the unsung hero. I feel like of Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, everything. I'm like, he's so underrated. He's so perfect.
He's great. Harcourt's fun. Adebayo's a lot of fun as well.
Yep.
Myrn, I really like as kind of the leader of the group. And obviously James Gunn is one of the best curators of music in his movies, and Peacemaker is like up there of his projects of my favorite songs he picks. Just like so much rock that I love. You got some Faster Pussycat in there, Choir Boys, you got Wigwam, and like, this shit is awesome. Works perfectly. That opening title sequence is incredible. But that leads us into the season 2 premiere. I kind of want to get into some spoilery stuff.
Yeah, I think we should.
I think it's more fun to kind of dive into this one. And I want to start out with how this bridges the gap from the DCEU to the DCU. And they do the previously on segment, which don't skip that, because sometimes you can skip the previously and it's just like, here's what happened in season 1. This one actually does matter.
Really sets up the DCU now.
Yeah, and we get a couple of minor changes to the first season, especially that last episode, where the Justice League in that last episode are replaced with the Justice Gang, and we get Green Lantern and Hawkgirl having a little dialogue instead of Aquaman and the Flash. Which I think is a fine enough way to bridge the gap. It's always that's been one of the big questions, like especially with Peacemaker. I feel like is how are they going to address the Justice League thing at the end?
Because everything in that show can be canon, but literally it's that one shot, that one little exchange where it doesn't work. It's like how do you amend that?
Yeah.
And you can share what you think about it. I think it works enough for me, and it didn't bother me. I was like, you know what, fine. You addressed the one thing, and I think you did it in a way that fits this universe, and you got Superman, Supergirl floating there.
Mr. Terrific's there.
Mr. Terrific's there in his chair. Works enough for me. I thought it was so ballsy how upfront they were with addressing that, though, that I was like, I was still, even though I'm on board with it, I was taken aback by it. I was like, oh shit, like, we're just blatant about it. Like, this is different. But no explanation to why it's different. I was like, okay. I anticipated, especially with where this season is looking to go with multiple universes or alternate dimensions and stuff like that, or different timelines, I'm like, maybe they'll just try and write it away that way. Nope. What you saw in the first season didn't happen. It's this, actually. And I'm like, fine, okay. Ballsy, and it works for me. I'm, again, kind of similar to them standing on top of a camper in broad daylight, not being seen. I'm like, you know what? I can just get over it, and it works. This one, I'm like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm willing to just roll with it because it is the one thing that they really needed to correct before they can move forward, and I get that.
Yeah, with James Gunn, I expected something like that, where he was just upfront going to be like, here's what we're doing. Let's move on to this season.
This is this.
And so I think it's about as well as you could do. Speaking of the title sequence, we get a new one. We get the song "Oh Lord" by Foxy Shazam, which I love that song. It's great.
I hadn't heard it until title sequence, so I was like, all right.
It's fun. I like the look of the background. It's like this almost Tetris-y type looks and like lines going around. A little bit of like a slower paced song than "Do You Want to Taste It," which is a lot of fun. It's grown on me a lot. Like when I first watched, I'm like, okay. I still don't think it's as good as the first season, but it's. I think week after week, it's gonna keep building up for me and keep being like, yeah, this is really good. So that's a lot of fun. We jump in to this season, and it takes place 1 month after Superman, where we saw Peacemaker have a little cameo in there on the news show, and essentially. We're jumping in this season with multiverse stuff a little bit with that quantum chamber, the storage area that they have.
The White Devil built out and all that.
And we get Peacemaker going into there and seeing this alternate version of his dad and his brother Keith, played by David Denman, Roy from The Office. Love it.
Love him so much. Again, to talk about underutilized actors, I love him so much. When he was in 13 Hours, and I really appreciate that. He's also the dad in Brightburn, so to see him kind of pop back up. I know James Gunn didn't really work a whole lot on that film, but he worked creatively as a producer, I believe. So to see him kind of be a part of this new DCU, granted in somewhat of a smaller role, I'm sure we'll see him more throughout this season, but it's just so cool that no way, and dude looks fucking awesome. Like he looks great. He's tall as shit, which I didn't fucking notice. I was like, damn, you're making John Cena look small. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, and it's great to see in this episode just like the three of them sitting around having a drink and seeing what could have been in this alternate universe if Keith never died, like we saw in that first season. So I think that can lead to some good stuff, and I think is a good use of multiverse stuff that I think we said last week of. It works. It can work better in a show instead of a movie where you have 8 episodes to kind of play through this a little bit and explore it. So I think that can be good of keeping it characterized with Peacemaker and what this other life would be. I assume that he'll find the Harcourt in this other universe and talk with her. So I like that setup already. And we also get a little bit of the Justice Gang, the tryouts that they're holding. You see Peacemaker go in, and Maxwell Lord doesn't know the mic isn't working.
Yep.
And he just, at first when they were doing it, I was like, I don't know if I understand what's going on right now. Like, am I dumb? But then they set up the joke of like, oh, the mic's broken or whatever. So
he's like, you can hear me now? He's like, yeah. He switches it off. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yep.
Fuck! And then immediately Guy Gardner's just chuckling. I'm like, this is such a good setup for just their shitty ragtag Justice Gang that they got so far. Yeah. And I love Sean Gunn being Maxwell Lord. That's such a great touch, too.
Yeah, so that's kind of the main stuff from this season. You get a few of the other characters in there, Economos and Adebayo, what they're up to. We get our first look at Rick Flag in this. He was in Superman for a little bit.
Yeah.
He was in Creature Commandos, obviously, but getting him as the head of Argus. And, we see Harcourt, too. She's kind of going through shit. She's can't really get a job anywhere. She's just drunk at the bar, which, that's fun. She's beating up people, having a great time, but
that's fun.
She's just bloody laying outside the bar, just kind of smiling. I'm like,
cool. I really love how after basically being completely ruled out of any sort of intelligence work because of their connection to Amanda Waller, and then outing Amanda Waller in that first season for being responsible for a lot of these things and all these covert operations, and now they're just blacklisted from all these types of jobs, and them all being in horrible situations and worse off than they were at the end of the first season, now all struggling for work. And you got Peacemaker wanting to become more of a hero, and then have him going through these tryouts just to be laughed at, basically, and them calling him just a asshole that kills people and shit like that. And I like where all these characters are set up. We get that amazing, surprising orgy sequence that I was not anticipating.
Wild.
I was watching this as my wife was like about to fall asleep, and that happened. She's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is Peacemaker." Like, you watch in passing part of the first season with me. She's like, whoa! And not that it's like the boys level orgy, but it just came out of nowhere, surprised me. I was like, oh, okay, everyone's fucking naked. And I like that also plays into when they're like, Johnny Economos is surveilling Peacemaker, keeping an eye on him, and they're like, well, is he in the orgy? Is he a part of the orgy? And he's like, well, yeah, but like he's not. And it's just weird humor I really appreciate in James Gunn's writing, also within the Peacemaker story. I love the scene that you already brought up about him with his brother and his father, and just kind of what could have been if Keith didn't die, or if he didn't accidentally kill his brother which is shown in the first season. It's so interesting now to see a Peacemaker who has now killed his brother, his dad, and now himself, because he kills that alternate timeline Peacemaker in a pretty fun fight in that little doorway, closet, portal to all these different universes, and I think that was a fun fight. But this show, and a lot of James Gunn's writing is always a lot of humor, but it's not afraid to peel back and look at kind of like the more like depressing human element of it. And I think that scene where he's having a drink with his brother and his dad, and he's just dumbfounded while his brother and his dad are mostly carrying on the conversation. He's just like, well, like he's getting to experience the thing that he's always wanted to. And then Robert Patrick, his dad, gets up and walks by and pulls him on his ear, "Love you, bud." And it's just like that part fucking wrecked me. I was like, oh god.
Instead of calling him a fucking pussy
from
the first season.
I was like, oh my god. I was like, damn, this is like actually working for me. Like, not that it was a surprise, but it was just like so emotional for an opening to a season 2 of a show that was not off the rails in a bad way, but just bonkers, fun, and engaging in that first season. Now to get something like this, I was like, damn, this really is like hitting me. Easily, I am so stoked for the rest of the season. I wish that they would have given us a 2-episode season premiere, which has kind of become a custom with like a lot of the Disney Plus stuff. I wish we could have had a little bit more time just to like get really inundated before we have to wait until Thursday again and get that new episode. But I'm all on board. And seeing James Gunn in an interview say that like Peacemaker has been his kind of crown jewel, at least through his eyes, of the stuff that he's creatively put out, I get it. Like it shows through. While I do have small issues with Peacemaker season 1, kind of like what you talked about, I'm so on board with what we're getting here so far. But yeah, Peacemaker, I'm watching a couple of shows right now. Peacemaker is the one that I'm the most excited about week to week. But that's not a slight on another amazing show that I was highly anticipating, which was Alien Earth. We did get episode 3 this past week on Tuesday, and now we'll get episode 4. I was going to say tomorrow. Today's Sunday. In 2 days, on Tuesday, we'll get episode 4. I'm so engaged with this show, and I really appreciate Noah Hawley's kind of direction with this. It's a reined-in story, and I really appreciate their adherence to big, heady sci-fi, but also slow moments with their characters. And we get a lot of characters in this show, and in episode 3, it is kind of the aftermath of what has been established in those first 2 episodes, and the sister is now find the brother, and now we're here, and we're kind of reconfiguring things and trying to get a new setup of what's going on. And there's all this talk of these kids essentially being well ahead of their time and them competing for their owner or their overlord. And the way that this show sets up stuff and is willing to slowly, gracefully tell its story has been something that's been the most engaging for me. And it feels like a much needed boost and step in the Alien universe. And episode 3 was probably my least favorite. It is the slowest moving of the season so far. It's a little bit more interested in the slower, smaller conversations between characters, and I appreciate that, but it was just a step down in terms of the kind of the fast pace. Here's what's going on. Now it's a rescue mission. Now where are we at? There's a xenomorph. There's a lot of interesting stuff brought up in this episode that I could literally watch the characters in this show talk about the phone book or paint a room and let it dry in front of them, and I'd be like, this is interesting. I'm so sold on this. While this episode wasn't necessarily up to the pedigree or the quality, I think, of the first 2, it's still a phenomenal episode, and it's branching out in a way that I never would have anticipated with a Alien project. But again, talking about how with Peacemaker or with other shows that handle alternate timelines, alternate universes, not that Alien Earth does that, you get more time, more breathing space to really experience things that you wouldn't get in a movie, which I'm willing to accept and acknowledge as the movie lover and the person that kind of regularly hates on TV a little bit. But in this, we get time with characters, and we get to understand different dynamics that are really effective and moving. So I'm sold on this. I'm excited for Tuesday to come and for me to get episode 4. I think it's 8 episodes that we're getting this season, and I'm between this and Peacemaker running congruently, I'm so excited. It's another good chunk of 2025 where we're going to have awesome TV all airing at the same time. So Alien Earth episode 3, awesome. I'm so sold. I have really no negatives with this show to this point, and I'm just so sold on the direction that they're going. Yeah, is it still moving at time? A little bit, but I think it is in service to the story that they're trying to tell. So any issue I have in terms of the pacing, I'm willing to put on the back burner until I see the full picture, because I'm sold throughout what I've seen.
I am going to watch all 4 episodes this week when the new one comes on Tuesday, so I can actually add some thoughts to this, because I love the Alien franchise, and I'm excited to get caught up and then I love having like multiple shows at a time, where like Tuesday's Alien Earth, Thursday's Peacemaker. It's just something to look forward to, like coming back from work every day and being able to watch that. So I'm excited to watch it next week. We'll dive into some of my thoughts, and then episode 4 next week we'll talk about as well. Coming up this week, movie-wise, we have got one from Darren Aronofsky, Caught Stealing, which you got Austin Butler, Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith in the movie, amongst a lot of other people. But Austin Butler plays a burned-out ex-baseball player, Hank Thompson, who finds himself in a struggle for survival amidst the criminal underbelly of 1990s New York City. And the trailers have worked for me. I think it looks like a lot of fun. And the cast is great. Darren Aronofsky, I think, is a very interesting director as well. This looks unlike his last few projects. The Whale was a pretty heavy, dramatic movie. Mother is a very interesting movie that some people love that movie, some hate it. I actually kind of enjoy it.
I love Mother. That might be one of my favorite of his filmography.
Okay. I think, Black Swan is maybe my favorite of his. I think that movie's great. So he's always doing interesting stuff, and this one looks like a little bit more lighter, just kind of fun, kind of action. Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz are 2 great leads for this movie, I feel like. And any time we get like a baseball themed, even though it's not like a baseball movie, he's a ex-baseball player, so it's fun to see. I'm excited to check this one out this week.
Yeah, no, it is kind of surprising seeing Darren Aronofsky's name attached to this movie after seeing the trailers, and just it looks just bombastic, and it looks like fun, and it looks like it is just kind of a thrill ride once it starts going. It's a day in the life of this man just trying to figure shit out and get out of a sticky situation. I'm kind of sold on that. My wife's super stoked about this movie just based on the trailers, so I think that this is going to be high up on the list of the movies coming out this week that I'm going to go and try and catch in theaters. Aside from that, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know how wide of a release this movie is going to be getting, but The Toxic Avenger is coming out. I didn't know until looking at the show notes just minutes ago that this was directed by Macon Blair, who is in The Blue Ruin, Green Room, also had a small role, I believe, in Oppenheimer. You have it in the notes. I'm trying to visualize him in that movie.
He's one of the congressmen people or somebody. There's so many side characters in Oppenheimer.
Every side character is almost an A-lister, so it's just he's here.
One scene of Rami Malek in this movie, whatever.
Okay, but Toxic Avenger has been a movie that I've kind of been hearing about a lot, especially this past summer. I've been seeing stuff pop up on Instagram and social media and all that stuff. But it's a horrible toxic accident transforms this downtrodden janitor, Winston Goose, into a new evolution.
Hell yeah, Winston Goose.
Goose. That's like Ivan Ooze from fucking Power Rangers, but it's a remake of a 1984 film. It's also that had 3 sequels, but this is a film that is an adaptation, I believe, of a comic. I've not seen the 1984 movie, so I think maybe tonight I'll try and even track that down, just because I think it'd be cool to see that before checking out the new version of this character. I know little to nothing aside from what's been shown in the trailers about this character, but I'm so stoked. I know that kind of the talk of that original film, the legacy of that original film is just the grindhouse, cathartic, violent nature of it. So I'm hopeful that this one is a fun watch. Also, with it now knowing that it's coming from Macon Blair, I'm super interested in that just because I love him as an actor. But Toxic Avenger, if it's showing near us, I'm going to try and catch that this week too.
I am definitely going to watch that original movie. I'm probably going to watch the 3 sequels as well.
Good job.
As I normally do. You know, what other time am I going to want to watch the Toxic Avenger sequels rather than when the new movie's coming out? So why not? Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I think it's like Troma that put out the first 4 movies. So yeah, I've always heard about them as these kind of like What are you doing over there?
My seat's squeaking.
Are you moving or is it?
There we go.
What?
Oh God!
What's moving? That's making the squeak.
The lighting setup is making the chair all wonky, and now it's just fucking grinding against this.
All right, I'll get you. Get settled.
Shut up. Listen.
No, I hear it. Yeah, they hear it too. The audio people hear it too.
Yeah, they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Anyways, Mason's just fucking around over there.
Sorry.
Anyways, the last big release we have this week is The Roses, which I've seen this trailer a lot lately. Comes from Jay Roach, again, another director with an interesting filmography. He brought us the Austin Powers trilogy, Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, and then Trumbo, the Bryan Cranston movie.
Yeah.
Got nominated for an Oscar for it. And then Bombshell, also an Oscar winner for, I think it was Best Makeup a few years back as well. And so, like, just no consistent theme of, like, what he's kind of working on. This one is kind of a fun rom-com-ish type movie between this couple played by Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. It looks like they on the surface, it's a picture-perfect couple, but they get into a lot of arguments and their individual dreams come to a head. And the trailer actually looks pretty fun. Like, it's seems like an enjoyable movie with 2 fun leads as well. Kate McKinnon and Andy Samberg. Allison Janney's in the movie as well. So, I don't know if I will check this out in theaters just because those Caught Stealing and Toxic Avenger, I kind of want to see more. But definitely, like, if I ever see this on streaming somewhere or if I just have a free day and it's still in theaters, I'll definitely check it out because it looks pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting excited for it just because I feel like this is a movie I could sucker my wife into seeing with me. I see a lot of movies alone, which, being married, I'm like, Allie, will you please fucking come see any movie with me? She saw Weapons with me, and I feel like that's going to be the last one I see with her for a long time. But maybe Caught Stealing I'll see with her. The trailer for The Roses has also been kind of a pleasant surprise for me. Going to AMC theaters, I see the same, like, 6 trailers every fucking time. This is one of them, but it's never been, like, old or long in the tooth for me. I've actually really come to enjoy this, and I like the idea of Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch being married, and also, like, warring spouses that are, like, trying to get a divorce and who's gonna get what. Oh, you're an acclaimed, like, successful chef, but this is my house that I built. Like, I like that dynamic between them and the tongue-in-cheek nature of them just basically almost offing each other in scenes. So I'm excited. Jay Roach made Mystery Alaska, which is one of my favorite sports films. I love that movie. It's such an underseen hockey movie. And I'm kind of sold. The trailers have been a pleasant surprise, so I might try and check it out in theaters. Kind of similar to you, Toxic Avenger, Caught Stealing. Those are the 2 that are going into this week and are going to be the precedent. The ones that I'm really rushing to go see. So if I see The Roses, I will happily talk about it next week. I am relatively excited for it. I just don't know if I'll get around to it this week. Moving into a physical media roundup, we talked a lot about Highest to Lowest last week, or at least Corey did. I haven't seen that. I might still try and catch it in theaters. I know it's showing for a little bit longer, I think throughout this week at the main cinema near us. So I'll hopefully try and grab that and watch that. I have a newfound excitement for that movie, knowing what you think of it. But after the Highest to Lowest conversation, before that, we were able to look back at High and Low, which is an amazing Akira Kurosawa movie we talked about last week from 1963. I loved it so much that I bought it on Criterion. I got the Criterion Collection Blu-ray that I believe got delivered to my apartment today. I will need to check that out for sure, but I'm so excited to have that movie just because it is one of the best directed movies I feel like I've seen in a long time. And it's from the 60s, so I'd recommend watching it. Please check out a movie that has subtitles from the 60s that is just one of the best blocked, directed, and acted films that has a pretty good mystery behind it. But yeah, I added that to my collection this week, and I'm pretty excited to honestly rewatch it. So hopefully I'll be able to report to you next week if I watched it or not.
That one may be one I get during the Criterion sale this November when it's all 50% off. That's one that is high up on my list for sure. As far as new stuff coming out this week, August 26th, we have the 2025 remake of Lilo and Stitch, which is a fine enough little remake, one of the better Disney live-action ones. Karate Kid Legends, I actually quite enjoy that movie. I think it's pretty fun as well. Materialists, which is the Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, A24 movie, so they'll have their little barcode on the side of their fucking Blu-ray. It'll be the wrong direction on the shelf, but that's fine, whatever. And then we got some older titles coming out on 4K. The Conjuring, in preparation for The Conjuring Last Rites in a couple weeks. And then Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Aaron Brockovich, and The Rundown. So a few different options there. And kind of in similar news with physical media, a cool little piece of news from this week is that Best Buy famously stopped selling physical media in stores and online. What is that now? A year and a half, a couple years ago, something like that.
We were making this, like we're already doing the podcast when all that news broke, so it's got to be under a year, about a year ago.
Something, yeah. So
sometime in the summer, because I feel like I remember that in like August.
Yeah, and for a while now, Best Buy has not sold movies. Target also followed suit and is not selling movies anymore, which sucks. But if you go on BestBuy.com right now, they have movies on there again, which is great. However, it is through a third-party distributor, so it's similar to what Walmart does in part, where they'll have some other vendors selling movies on there. Some movies are from Walmart still, but some of them are from third parties, and that's kind of what Best Buy is doing right now. But that's exciting, though. That's a fun little step, and it makes me hopeful that maybe someday they could even bring back a small section in their stores of just like, they used to have that like front kind of rack of movies, so like the new releases, and doing that. Maybe they could do that, or even just like one little shelf of like the new releases that week and a couple older titles. Honestly, anything. I would love that. This is hopefully a step towards that. I'm not expecting anytime soon that they will be doing that, but still a cool thing. And if you love physical media, I would recommend checking out Best Buy's site, and if you like something, maybe try buy it off there to show them that, hey, yeah, we actually still want physical media. Like, it was a mistake that you took it away from us, like in this store specifically. So I'm definitely going to be looking there anytime I want to order a movie online, and hopefully maybe in the future we can get kind of how vinyls have had a comeback, in recent years. Maybe we can have that with Blu-rays and 4Ks.
Yeah, that, and like we have a lot of like prolific directors nowadays, like Christopher Nolan, being like, buy it on physical, own it, because on streaming it's not necessarily yours and it could be taken away. It can be really hard to find a movie that you've heard so many great things about that you just can't find. This is also similar. I think this is what kind of Target does. You can find movies online through their website, even though it's not necessarily sold in stores. They, I'm sure, do a third-party kind of outfitter in terms of what they carry and what they sell. This is unrelated to the Best Buy stuff, but this past week, or when I ordered Longlegs, the 4K and Blu-ray, I ordered it from a website called Blu-rays for Everyone. So far, aside from like Amazon, that's been a pretty good one from what I can tell, in terms of quality releases and quality packaging, so I'm getting a pretty good product. It didn't come with a slipcover. That's a different story. I'm still getting a good Blu-ray 4K copy of a movie that I've really grown to like. If you like buying physical media, there are different outlets you can seek out, but it is nice to see like the Best Buy kind of reworking it, taking a step back. You know what, we can offer this, because I still believe that there is a good enough outcry and desire for physical media, especially we had Apple raising their streaming prices this past week. Granted, Apple TV Plus, I still think, even though they've raised their price like 30% over the week, still bang for your buck product with $12.99 for Apple TV Plus. But as streaming consistently is raising prices, like Netflix does every 4 fucking days, I feel like, buy the movies or buy the creative IP that really matters to you, the things that you want to watch. I think it's good to own them. I own a lot, Corey owns a lot, and it's nice to have Best Buy kind of somewhat back in the game so that we can kind of look at a new outlet and, oh, hey, one of the bigger names is willing to represent a little bit. So I think that's good. Good news only for physical media owners, which I feel like hasn't really come around a lot. I feel like it's always like, well, this company's not offering physical media anymore, so good luck. Or a DVD or a Blu-ray players and 4K players are stopped getting produced. So it's just, I feel like this is a small win that we get to have, even though it is a third party.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of smaller, like, boutique labels putting out stuff, which is great, too, that keeping that alive. Lionsgate Limited has their own website now, putting out stuff, which is great. So definitely support all that stuff.
I want to give a plug. Growing up, the one that I religiously Googled as, like, a middle schooler was, I think, DVD or CD Universe. And it was always, like, I was buying DVDs. But I could find anything on that fucking website. And I don't even know if it's still active today, but physical media buyers will find a way to fucking own something. And that comes from experience that I've had, but also just like wacky shit I see in people's collections. if it matters to you, try and find it, try and track it down, try and own it if it's important to you. Just because kind of what you hear about with a lot of directors saying, like, you gotta own it. It's important to you, keep it. You don't know if streaming is always going to be there for you. And also, do you want to pay $20 a month just to watch the one movie that you really love? Just buy it once and you'll keep it. Who knows?
Exactly. So, moving into some sadder news from this week, Jerry Adler passed away, who may not be the biggest name, but for me at least, he is most known for playing Hesh in The Sopranos. He is kind of the advisor to Tony Soprano in that show. He has a lot of quotes that I would love to say, but, can't really say them because there's,
2025.
not PC, I guess, whatever. But anyways, he's very memorable role in that show. I love just a group of mobsters in a show, just sitting around eating meats,
shooting the
drinking, playing pool. If you haven't seen The Sopranos, please watch The Sopranos. It's great. Even if you're not a huge mob fan, it's great character work. It's obviously one of the best shows of all time, one of the most famous endings of all time that people at the time were talking about forever, just of like, did my TV just turn off right now, or what happened?
What's going on?
Yeah, so just a shout out for The Sopranos. Jerry Adler is a very great part of that show. And he started a lot of other shows as well. The Good Wife, Rescue Me, Northern Exposure, which my dad really loves and tells me to watch all the time.
I don't know what that is.
He's always like, you see Northern Exposure? I'm like, I still haven't. He's like, hey, you should definitely check that out. He probably has like the Walmart DVD box set of
this show, yeah.
And he's like, you want to borrow this sometime? I'm like, maybe. But hey, again, back to physical media. That's great. I love that, my dad's buying the Northern Exposure box set. That's sweet. Jerry Adler was also in A Most Violent Year, which is a movie I watched somewhat recently and really liked. I know you enjoyed that movie as well. Yeah. So, very great character actor, just popping up in anything. I loved seeing him, and very sad that he's passed away. But like we say every week, great that we can kind of keep their memory alive through all their work.
Yeah, 100%. If anything, this makes me want to go and finish The Sopranos. I have not seen that show all the way to completion. I've seen the first season for sure, and I think some of the second. It was one of my dad's favorite shows, so like when he passed away, I was just like, I need to watch everything that he liked. And I watched the first season of Sopranos and loved it, but again, I'm bad at watching TV, so Sopranos is one that I definitely need to check off my list and likely need to go back to. One of the big movie news breaks from this week, which it's not something that's supposedly set in stone quite yet, but they're in talks. One of my favorite shows of all time, one of my favorite seasons of television. I consider it a movie in and of itself. True Detective, which we will get season 5 of eventually. True Detective season 1, The Long, Bright, Dark, I believe it's called, is one of my favorite anythings ever put out. I watch that probably yearly. It's so good. But we got True Detective season 4 a couple of years ago with Jodie Foster. Now we're getting season 5 coming up, and there is a actor attached to potentially be one of the leads for it, and that would be Nicolas Cage. He would potentially be starring in season 5 of this anthology series. The new season will be set supposedly in Jamaica Bay area of New York. Isa Lopez, who was the showrunner of season 4, which I haven't watched season 4, which I believe was a True Detective Night Country with Jodie Foster, which I heard nothing but mostly good things about. Haven't seen that yet, need to watch that still. But Isa Lopez is still attached as the showrunner and will be returning for this upcoming 5th season. Cage is being looked at to be considered for the role of an NYPD detective by the name of Henry Logan. I love the casting of this show throughout the 3 seasons that I have seen, and I like the idea of the cast for the 4th season that I have yet to watch. Nick Cage in a kind of crime detective story, I'm on board for that. Nick Cage can do almost no wrong for me. Even when he's over the top, I'm still having a good time watching him. Corey, what are your thoughts on your doppelganger, Nick Cage, potentially being rumored for season 5?
There it is. I figured it would come up at some
point. I was
point.
thinking, like, maybe I don't. He gets it all the time, but also, fucking why not? New people. One person, hopefully a week, watches this and sees, hey, this guy kind of looks like Nick Cage.
You know what? It was a part of my best man speech at your wedding.
Yeah.
I try and wear a hat to not reveal my hairline to look like Nicolas Cage, whatever.
Nick Cage in what, National Treasure 2? Kind of a good looking dude.
Yeah.
Kind of, not bad.
You know,
not
but I
think you're better looking than Nick Cage.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's nice of you.
This is the nicest thing I've said to you in a while.
Probably, yeah. It's not. We don't get a lot of those, so that's great.
Yeah.
But
better looking than Nick Cage.
Yeah, that's what a bar to clear. Holy fuck. I feel so honored.
You did it. You did
Yeah,
it.
I finally did it. No, this is cool news. I like it. Much like you, True Detective Season 1 is my favorite season of TV ever. Breaking Bad is my favorite show of all time, but Season 1 of True Detective I think is the best complete story ever put on TV.
Perfect 8-hour movie.
It's incredible, and I love it. And Season 2 is okay. I don't love that one as much. Season 3 I think is very underrated.
Oh yeah, I think that's of the 3 that I have seen, that's the closest I think True Detective could get to that first.
Mahershala Ali's really good. Stephen Dorff really good in that as well.
Surprising.
And I watched Season 4, Night Country with Jodie Foster, Callie Reese. I think Issa Lopez did a good job with that show, with that 4th season. And there were some cool, like, supernatural type elements in there that I enjoyed and kind of took it in a little bit of a different direction. So I'm down with her doing a Season 5, and with Nick Cage being the lead of that. I think that's pretty cool. I'm down for more True Detective. I like these kind of anthology shows where you can jump in really at any point. And you don't need to watch a specific order of seasons. So
I really hope he gets obviously attached to it, but also then once he is attached, if he's doing it, it will come down to who is he opposite of? Who is the other co-lead of this? Just as this is kind of the staple of the franchise, you get 2 big names and you get to follow them through. So I'm really eager to see whether or not he will become a fundamental role in Season 5, and also who will be opposite him and be kind of that supporting detective or adversary role potentially in Season 5. I will say that I think it would be cool to see, and I haven't seen Season 4, it would be cool to see something that isn't necessarily a partner dynamic, maybe something like an adversarial role, like a Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Sterling. Like, something like that would be kind of cool for me. But regardless, I am super excited just because I love this show, and I think that the highest of heights, it hits. Sometimes there are some middling lows, but overall I think I've gotten nothing but great enjoyment out of True Detective overall.
Some great news, as we always are pushing the theatrical experience over streaming stuff. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which is coming out later this year, will get a limited theatrical release in October, on October 17th, and then it'll come out on Netflix on November 7th. And it's the classic story of Frankenstein, with Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster. I think Mia Goth is in there as well.
I believe so, yeah.
And I'm excited for the movie for sure. I think just the trailer we got a couple months back, the visuals look great, obviously. Del Toro's always doing interesting stuff there. But great to see Netflix continuing to give at least a little bit of a release. I think this past weekend, the K-pop Demon Hunters is the #1 movie at the box office. They're like sing-along version of the movie. I haven't seen it. I'm not a big like K-pop or just like that sort of like animation style. I don't know if I'll see it, but great to see that, like, proving to Netflix that you can open a #1 movie if you put this in theaters and then put it on Netflix a couple months later. So glad they're doing that with Frankenstein. I know they did it with Glass Onion. They did it with The Killer, which was David Fincher's movie from a couple years back. So I like that they're still doing that, and I hope that they used to do some physical media stuff. Like the first couple Stranger Things seasons had really great releases. I wish they would do more stuff like that, because I would love to own, some of Netflix's movies on physical as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's still like, okay, I'm happy that you guys are doing a small theatrical release, but I don't get what you haven't learned yet. Glass Onion did pretty well in theaters for the limited time that it was in theaters before it came to Netflix. Through kind of COVID and things going straight to streaming, we saw that like streaming numbers took a dip. These big theatrical releases that were meant for the theaters, they didn't do well when they were just released straight to streaming. When you put a movie out in theaters and then after a while, whether it's a 45-day theatrical window or not, any amount of time that a movie spends in theaters before it goes to streaming, it usually does really great on streaming once it comes out. So I think it would only serve them to lengthen this time window from when it comes out theatrically to that streaming window. It's like a 2 to 3 week window here. So I'm like, all right, I don't know if it says October 17th. I don't know if it means that it will be out in theaters from October 17th to November, or if it's just going to be like a couple of days, or if it's going to be a wide release or a limited release. But I think that I don't understand what their thought process is on it. I'm happy that they're willing to put it in theaters. I think they just need to dedicate more attention to putting it in theaters for a longer theatrical run, just because I think it will do better for them in the long run in terms of return on investment of putting out this somewhat big budget film to theaters and then also to streaming. Because when you just release it on streaming, the only kind of get back you get from that is just people watching it on streaming and new subscription editions. So I'm super excited for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I think it's probably going to be, obviously, with everything that he makes, something that's visually arresting, and I'm really excited by the cast of it alone. I just think you could probably do just a normal window. I'm waiting for Netflix to make the call of, like, you know what? We will put movies out in theaters, and then when they come to streaming, they will only come to us, and we won't share the rights to other streamers. I'm waiting for that call. But I will be trying to see this in theaters just because Guillermo del Toro on the big screen, I think, is always something that benefits everyone. Like, it's a treat nonetheless. So I'm excited by this. I just wish that this was something that they would catch on to sooner and get on board with of having a longer theatrical release. In terms of trailers this past week, we did get a trailer for Season 2 of Fallout, which is a show I know you really appreciated and really liked. That first season of. We also got a trailer for Ballad of a Small Player, as well as Anemone, which is the famed return of one of the greatest actors of all time, if not the greatest actor of all time, Daniel Day-Lewis. What are you doing?
What?
I just saw you click on what we have underneath the trailer roundup.
Genuinely nothing. I could have done something, but yeah nothing.
Of these trailers, the Anemone trailer with Daniel Day-Lewis, you get the excitement of it. That's the thing that I'm most sold on. I think it visually is interesting, but also the excitement of Daniel Day-Lewis is easily the selling point of this film. Also, it being directed by his son, and that being one of the driving forces as to why he is back on screen after his retirement. I'm super sold on that. I have not seen Fallout Season 1, so the Season 2 trailer, it looked awesome. I don't know much about the story, so I have some homework there. And Ballad of a Small Player, I believe that's another Netflix release. But just, I'm sold. It's Colin Farrell, so I'm ready for it. Whatever.
So Fallout, the first season, that's one of my favorite seasons of TV this decade. I think it's fucking awesome. I haven't played the Fallout games, but I remember when I was younger sitting with my brother and he had his Xbox and he was playing like Fallout 3 in New Vegas and all this stuff. And I just remember watching him play those for hours, and like it was just a fun like kind of like bonding thing looking back on it, of us just eating Doritos, drinking Mountain Dew, and playing, like him playing Fallout, me watching it. And I'd always just loved the world and like the weird like 60s vibe, and especially in this first season too, where they had like the bunkers and everything, and then coming back out after the nuclear war. I love that first season. I think it's great. Walton Goggins and Ella Purnell are awesome in that show, and I'm so happy to see them going to New Vegas now. That's really exciting in the second season. It looks sweet. It's coming out in December. That's going to be such a fun kind of like Christmassy winter watch for sure. Ballad of a Small Player, that's Edward Berger's new movie. You mentioned Colin Farrell's in there. Edward Berger's awesome. I mean, Conclave and All Quiet on the Western Front are great. Both big Oscar contenders. I think this one will be in the mix as well. And the trailer looks really fun. It's just Colin Farrell in Vegas or at some casino. And you're at a casino. Nothing's really going to go good, I can assume. And then, Anemone, like you said, Ronan Day-Lewis, Daniel's kid, is directing the movie. This could be really pretentious. Who knows?
Yeah, the trailer does let on to that. This could be a bit too much.
There's always a few movies every awards season that come out in the fall. You're like, oh, this looks great, looks good. And then it just is kind of like, wow, you're really trying for the Oscar.
Yeah.
I'm scared that this one could be. I don't want to judge it before because it looks very well made. I think the performances will be good. Sean Bean is in it as well, which is great. Maybe he'll die.
I was going to say, you might die in this one.
But, so I'm excited for those for sure. And, just a couple more award season movies that kind of be fun over these next couple months I've already kind of started making my list of, like, stuff I'm looking forward to award season-wise.
Oscar season, yeah.
For sure. So, into a few other movie notes we have here. Spider-Man Brand New Day. We've touched on a lot of the casting in other weeks. Tremel Tillman, who is most famously known for playing Mr. Milchick on Severance. He was also in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning as the submarine captain. He's great in everything. He's charming. He's fun. Perfect. Love him being in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Joins a great cast that we already have. And I'm excited to see which character he plays. We haven't had that confirmed yet, so It'll be interesting if he's more of a side character or if he could be a really fun villain in this movie for sure. If that's where they end up going with it.
Yeah, Tremel Tillman being added to anything is going to be a massive plus. He's fantastic in Mission Impossible. The small amount of time that he had in Final Reckoning, he was fantastic. But also, I love him as Milchick. He's my favorite character in Severance. We got Karen Gillan also joining the cast of Highlander, coming from Amazon MGM's remake of that 1980 classic film, which I know you love, probably way more than I do. I really appreciate that movie, but I know you have a deep admiration for that. She will be joining Henry Cavill, Russell Crowe, Dave Bautista, and Marissa Abela in this action fantasy film coming from director Chad Stahelski. So something I'm pretty excited about just because I'm familiar with the original one from the 80s. I do like that film, and I think the cast around this, as well as having a great action director as Chad Stahelski surrounding it and directing it, I think that there is a high ceiling for this film. I think it could be a really good time. And I think Karen Gillan's a great addition to this cast. I really grew to love her as Nebula within the MCU, and I also really enjoy her and her comedic timing within the more recent Jumanji films. So I think this is a massive plus, and this is becoming a really interesting and cool cast for this film.
I'm excited for sure, yeah. Like you said, I really do love that first movie. I like the sequels. I just grew up watching them, so very nostalgic for me.
Highlander 2, The Quickening?
Oh, yeah. The Quickening.
I've heard nothing but awful things about that.
As a kid, I thought that was great. As whatever I was, 11, 12-year-old
now
me.
You watch it back with, like, rose goggles, and you're just like,
When I end up rewatching the movies for this, I think there's, like, one of these I haven't seen, so I'll probably end up watching that, too. We'll see how it holds up for sure. In a little bit of Star Wars news, nothing really confirmed here, but the Rogue Squadron movie from Patty Jenkins, the director of the 2 Wonder Woman movies, it's maybe back in development. We haven't had any official announcements from Lucasfilm. This movie has been in just development hell forever now. It's supposed to come out in 2023. Patty Jenkins said she's been working on it in 2024. We haven't really got much updates from then. There's so many Star Wars movies floating around. The Rey movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu feels like a solid one coming out. Star Wars Starfighter. Those are the 2 that I'm only really confident in because we've had like significant updates for both of those.
We also had the one for Rogue Squadron where Patty Jenkins was like, hey, basically on a tarmac, get ready, and then gets in a 1-to-1 model of an X-Wing. And it's like, okay, so this movie's coming out, right? And then that was, 4 years ago? Nothing?
The difference, I feel like, is that we didn't have any cast. We didn't have any plot details. Like, even with Starfighter, like, we've talked about some of the cast in there. So I'm like, all right, this is moving forward a little bit. It could be interesting. Like, it sounds like more of just this, like, fighter pilot group and kind of a Top Gun-esque story within the Star Wars universe. Could be fine. I don't know that I really need it. I'm fine if this movie never comes out.
Kind of going up, we have Star Wars Starfighter coming out, so I don't know if Rogue Squadron, if that's going to offer something really new or different from that story. I feel like, if anything, it's probably just an adaptation or a kind of a continuation of what that idea for Rogue Squadron could have been with Starfighter. So I'm really excited for that movie. This is coming, again, like Corey said, it's a rumor coming from, I think, Daniel RPK or Daniel Rickman of this movie kind of having a little update, and potentially maybe there's some traction. Maybe this is moving forward, but a lot of the Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars projects don't hold your breath. I feel like everything gets announced, teased, and then just kind of fades into nothingness, and we don't hear about it or see it ever. So I'd be hopeful. I think Star Wars needs to be out in cinemas again, so I'm really excited for Star Wars Starfighter. Mandalorian and Grogu, it's coming out. Cool. Feels like it could have just been a continuation on Disney+, but whatever. But yeah, Rogue Squadron, who knows if we'll ever fucking see that. I do like Patty Jenkins enough, though, so I'm like, if you don't direct specifically Rogue Squadron in the Star Wars world, you could probably direct a different project, and I'd be pretty excited for it.
Wonder Woman 84 is your favorite DC EU movie, right? You like that?
That's such a great joke you're making. That is one of the biggest heaping pile of dog. That is the worst DC EU movie for me. I hate that movie. It's so mishandled. But Wonder Woman, the first one, is so phenomenal, even though the third act kind of falters a little bit. And she directed Monster 2 from the early 2000s, which is an Oscar-nominated and winning film. So Patty Jenkins has proven that she can make quality projects. If she wants to handle something in the Star Wars universe, I'm sold on it. I just don't know if I buy into the Rogue Squadron rumors or it potentially being kind of back on the table for Lucasfilm. Don't know. Don't 100% care with Star Wars Starfighter coming out, as it feels like it's covering the same ground. A new update we also got was from Paramount. which has the production company has signed the Duffer Brothers, famous for obviously creating Stranger Things and The Upside Down and their pictures and all that stuff. They have secured a label to a 4-year exclusive deal for both films, TV, and streaming. Starting after their Netflix deal ends in April of 2026, the Stranger Things creators will write and direct and produce across Paramount Pictures, Paramount Television, as well as streaming. And they will remain involved in the Stranger Things and other Netflix projects that are currently in development. But this is a major highlight of the new deal, is the opportunity for the Duffers to make a big move towards filmmaking and stuff made for the big screen, as opposed to really adhering to Netflix and the stuff that we already harped on about with their kind of release pattern of small theatrical releases, but for their shows it is all straight to streaming. So this kind of offers them up a way to get their stuff on the theater screens and be able to see it in the cinema, so that is something relatively exciting. I'm not the biggest fan of all things Stranger Things, but some of the high points of like season 4, season 3, season 1, season 2 have really sold me. There are some low points that I think hit me harder than most people. I don't love Stranger Things through and through, but I think what they've created is something that has been deeply nostalgic and really relevant for pop culture these past 10 years, whenever the first season of Stranger Things came out. So I'm excited to see them kind of carry over and hopefully take on something outside of the Stranger Things world and move into filmmaking.
That's what I'm kind of most excited to see, is what they do outside of Stranger Things. I love the show. I've really liked all 4 seasons. But yeah, just to see what other projects they're interested in and have been working on is super cool. Maybe like the Coen brothers, they'll split up after this 4-year deal is done, and they'll start doing individual Duffer Brother projects.
That are fine.
Yeah.
They're so fine.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you for sitting and having some liquor drinks with us on this episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more in-depth movie news and movie reviews. Also, for those watching us on YouTube, watching us and seeing our limited set, hopefully we'll begin to build this out a little bit more, as we have now secured, 25 cents?
We've got a quarter.
We got a full quarter in monetization from our ad revenue. I think that was strictly through the podcast, though, and not through YouTube. But with my work and my job completely boring me in my day-to-day, I really get interested in rewatching our videos and seeing the things that we can improve on. So if you have any recommendations or comments or suggestions on things that we could improve on, leave them wherever, Instagram, TikTok, or I don't know if there's a comment thing on a podcast function.
I think so.
I'm sure. But if you have any recommendations, let us know. Expect to see this kind of build out over the next couple of weeks as we try to establish more of a routine with what we do and how we report, as opposed to just more of like the structured things, having more of an open conversation between me and Corey, and hopefully being able to interact with viewers as well. But thanks for sitting down with us. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater.
From Mason and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.